making biltong, there's two key things that you have to do with the meat. You firstly have to cure the meat, which is the process of putting salt onto the meat, and that allows for it to dehydrate and dry, which then in turn turns the beef into biltong. The second thing that you can do with the meat is you can preserve it with something. And typically what you use when preserving the meat is vinegar. So we're going to use both vinegar and salt. Those are the two things you need if you want to make biltong. I use red vinegar, so I'll use the red vinegar to preserve the meat, and then I just use normal iodized salt when I want to cure the meat. Now, just the salt and just the vinegar will give you perfectly cured meat, but if you actually want to make biltong, you need to add some additional spices to the mix. To the salt, we're going to add 2 spices. The first spice we'll add is black pepper. So I use just a normal off the rack black pepper, nothing fancy there. And then the second thing that I use is I use coriander. So coriander, I typically like to buy the coriander seeds, and these coriander seeds I'm going to grind in my coffee grinder. I'm not going to grind them too fine because I like the little flakes that adhere to the meat. So the mix is a very, very simple mix. I'm going to go 50-50, combining the coriander and the black pepper into 1/2, in other words 1/4 black pepper, 1/4 coriander, and the other half will be salt. So let's make the mix. I have 2 simple cup measures here, 1 whole cup measure and 1 1/2 cup measure. In the whole cup measure, I'm going to add the salt. So I'll fill that up with salt. And remember, that's the mixture we want. We want half salt, and then the other half will be a combination between the pepper and the ground coriander. So there's my salt. I'm going to put that into a container. And then in the other half, I'm going to take a 1/2 cup of black pepper. So I'll quickly mix that in here. So there's a 1/2 cup of black pepper. That'll go into my mixture. And then the other 1/2 cup will be the coriander seeds. So before I grind my coriander seeds, I'm going to put them into this 1/2 cup. I'll just scoop from this container. There's a nice healthy scoop. This is what's going to give the biltong its distinct taste. You can add other spices if you want to as well, but the coriander and the black pepper together with the salt is what makes it taste like biltong. So all of that goes into my pepper grinder, and I'm going to grind that for a few seconds. I'm just pulsing it because I don't want to grind it too soft, too fine. I just want it to get a nice consistency. It looks something like this, which I can then add to the rest of my mixture. And that is the simplest form of biltong spice that you can make. From here you can add anything you want. You can add cloves, you can add nutmeg. Some people like to add chili powder or peri-peri spice. You can even add things like garlic. It's entirely up to you. I've seen people add brown sugar, but again, that's not necessarily something that you need. The main things you need is a mixture of the pepper, the salt, and the coriander. And remember, I'm mixing it 1/2 salt, 1/4 pepper, 1/4 coriander. After making the spices, I need a way to get it onto the biltong. The easiest thing to do is to just use a spice shaker. I have a little stainless steel one that I use. I'm going to transfer the spices from my container into the shaker. In order to do so, I'm just going to grab a spoon some in here, and I'll let that fill up automatically. You'll see this is a much easier way to get the spice onto the biltong without having to use too much of a effort, and this will allow us to create a very, very nice even spread of the spices when we actually attach them to the biltong. Now that I've added all the spices into the container, I'm just going to screw the lid on, and now I'm ready to put the spice onto the biltong. So let's look at the next step. Alright, now that our spices are made, the next thing for us to do is to actually start preparing the meat. Now, The purpose of this video is really to show you a cheap and an easy way to make biltong. The meat that I prefer to buy is the bottom round steak. This is something that you can buy from most outlets. I bought this at one of the big box stores. It sells for $2.74 per pound, which is a very reasonable cost. At the end of this video, I'll actually show you a comparison of different costs when making biltong. And when I prepare the round, the process is very simple. I'm going to take the meat, and I want this one side of the meat that has the nice fatty piece in order to use that for my main pieces of biltong. So I'm going to lay that down flat, and I'm going to cut about a 2-inch strip of this meat. And that's going to give me a very nice piece of biltong once it dries out. Now keep in mind, you're going to lose about half the weight of the meat as it starts drying out in the process. So let me quickly process this packet, and then we'll talk about how we spice and dry the meat. I'm going to keep these smaller pieces to make biltong sticks, or chili bites as some people refer to them, later on during the same video. But for now, we're most interested in these big fat pieces because they are the ones that we're going to be using to make our main biltongs. So let me quickly finish cutting these up. Now, as I said, you can buy biltong online for some exorbitant prices. I found that this way of buying it is actually one of the most cost-effective ways of doing it. If you have a butcher that can cut your biltong or your bottom round into nice pieces for you, you're welcome to have somebody do that. But for now, I'm going to stick with what I can buy cheaply and easily, and I'm going to use that in order to make the biltong. While I'm busy preparing the meat, I'm also going to cut these other pieces into slightly thinner strips, probably about 1/4 to 1/2 inch wide, because these are the pieces we'll use later to make our biltong sticks. I'm just going to cut them nice and thin because I'll hang them up individually in order to make my biltong sticks. Alright, so all of our meat is cut for now. Again, you can make as much biltong as you want to. We usually go through somewhere between 5 and 10 pounds a week. So I make biltong every 2 weeks or so with the meat that I buy. If you have place to hang a lot of biltong, that's great. If you don't, if you're using a dehydrating box, you may only want to make a few pieces at a time. So the meat is cut, we've prepared our spices, and as I said earlier, there's 2 processes that we're going to be involved or use during making this process. We're going to use the salt to cure the meat, and we've added the black pepper and the coriander to the salt. And the second thing that we're going to use is we're going to use the vinegar in order to preserve the meat. Now, some people take their biltong and they leave it in the vinegar for an extended period of time. I personally don't like the taste of that, so I use red wine vinegar, or you can use white wine vinegar. It's entirely up to you. I put about a cup or so into a container, just enough so that I can immerse the meat in that. And as I said, this is a very quick and a very fast process for me. If you want to leave your meat in the vinegar for longer, it's entirely up to you, but I don't recommend it because I don't like the taste of it. Together with the vinegar, I'm also going to add about a tablespoon of Worcester sauce, which is again the normal stuff you would buy from any store. It makes a nice mix and it gives the meat a nice taste. I also have a container here where I'm going to let the meat dry, and I usually let my meat lie after I've spiced it for an hour or 2 just to absorb the salt. So I take the meat, I very quickly dip it in the vinegar mix, and I then put it on the drying rack. As I said, you can do this 100 different ways. I prefer this way because it really gives the meat a nice taste and a nice flavor without necessarily making it taste too much like vinegar and absorbing too much of that. It comes out giving you a nice brown or a sort of a blackish edge on the outside of the biltong, while the inside of it stays nice and pink. And again, depending on how long you hang it, it may end up getting a little bit drier. I usually don't hang it for more than 2 or 3 days. So I'm going to stop there for now, and I'm going to put spices on. I'll come back to the meat sticks that I'm going to make a little bit later. Now that I have my biltong in my rack, I'm going to add some spice to it. This is that same spice I showed you earlier, which I've put into a shaker, and I'm gonna shake this biltong spice, which is the combination of the pepper, the salt and the coriander, and I'm gonna use quite a bit of it on the meat. I usually let the meat lie for about an hour or so. I cover it up with some foil. You can put it back into the refrigerator if you want to as well, but I really like it to absorb these tastes. While it's drying and hanging on the drying rack, these spices will obviously adhere to the meat, but I really want the taste of the coriander and the black pepper as well as the salt to get into the mix. And again, remember, as part of the curing implies that you're trying to get all the moisture out of the meat. That's what the salt is for. So now that this is done, I'm going to leave this meat for about 2 hours, and then after that I'll start hanging it up. Now that my biltongs are resting, I'm also going to make some meat sticks out of the other pieces that I cut off. Now I like mine very spicy, so I've just bought some crushed red pepper flakes that I'm going to add to about a half a cup of the biltong spice that I have over here. Again, this is entirely to taste. I like mine quite spicy, so I'm going to add the best part of about a tablespoon of the red chili flakes in here. Once I've got those in here, I'm going to close up my shaker and I'm going to mix it well inside here, so we make sure we have that nicely mixed into our spice mix, and then open it on its largest setting so that we can get those out. And then the process is exactly the same. I'm going to take my meat sticks, very quickly dip them in my mixture, which is about a cup of vinegar and about a tablespoon of Worcester sauce. I'm going to lay these out on a drying rack because, again, I want some of this liquid to drip off while they're busy drying. Right, let's see if I can quickly get all of these done. Throw a few more in here and get it done a little bit quicker. Now, as I've said before in this video, and I'll keep reminding everybody, this is by no means, the definitive way to make biltong. This is a cheap and easy way to make biltong. If you want to make a reasonable amount of it, you eat a lot of it. You can obviously go and experiment as much as you want to with your own recipes. You can go and change it. You can use any combination of these spices. It's entirely based on your taste. The two things that you just absolutely have to use is you have to use the salt in order to cure it, and as I said, the vinegar to preserve it. If you stay in a place where if you have the opportunity to actually let your biltong dry without any sort of humidity or any way for it to spoil, then quite frankly you don't even need to use the vinegar. Then the vinegar just becomes something that you use for taste. So now that that's done, I'm going to put these meat sticks on a drying rack. I'm going to take my spice, and in the same way as before, I'm going to spice these quite aggressively to try and get as much of this taste onto my biltong, because I want as much of it to absorb as I possibly can. I'll turn these guys around and I'll spice them on all the other sides. When I come back, you'll see me start hanging the biltong up to dry. Right, the last step in making the biltong is actually hanging it up. So we're going to get ready now to put it onto the hooks and then hang it up. Now, in order to dry the biltong, some people use a biltong box. There's lots of videos that will show you how to build a biltong box. If you stay in a dry place like Denver, Colorado, where I live, you can actually just hang the biltong up somewhere in a cool, dry place, because the humidity is so low that the biltong will actually dry out. If you're in a place where there is a lot of moisture in the air, be careful, because you don't want the biltong to spoil. Otherwise, if you're in a relatively dry place, make sure that it's nice and cool. Maybe use a fan to blow some air across the meat so that it can dehydrate quickly. But from here, you're going to use little biltong hooks. If you don't have biltong hooks, the thing that I've used in the past are paper clips, where you just literally open the paper clip up, it makes it into a little S shape, and you hang it on. I'm going to hook these biltongs onto my hooks as such. I'll do the whole batch, and then we're going to go hang them up downstairs. Now that we've got our biltong spiced and it's been lying for about 2 hours, we're ready to hang it up. I'm just using my hooks I'm going to be hanging up all the pieces that I made onto my biltong drying rack. Again, if you live in a place where you need to use a biltong box, that's fine. Ultimately, all you want is somewhere that's nice and cool and dry, where the biltong can hang for a few days, and then we can start to eat it. And that gives us all of our biltong, which will be ready to eat probably in about 3 or 4 days, depending on the weather.